telling you some of the stories that Jesus told when he was on the earth. Now, when Jesus told a story, you think he was just sitting around telling stories? He had a reason for telling his stories, didn't he? So when Jesus told a story, he was trying to teach something with the story. Now, the people in the story might not have actually lived, but he made those people up so that they could teach just what he wanted to teach. And when Jesus teaches something with a story, we call it a parable. So we've been learning the parables of Jesus. In the last few weeks, we've been learning about some things that got lost. Does anybody remember? When did somebody beside Sebastian tell me, when did we learn about the sheep that was lost? Was that last week or the week before last week? We learned about a sheep that was lost last week or the week before. Daniel, do you know when it was? Were you here last week? Okay. Mikey wasn't here last week, so.
No.
We learned about the sheep last week. So when did we learn about the coin that was lost? Last week or the week before? That's a hard question, isn't it? It must have been the week before, that's right. And before that we learned about a rich fool who tore down his barns and built bigger. But today, we are going to learn, well, let's just start into it. You see this house here? We don't build our houses like this anymore. But in Jesus' day, when he was telling the story, I mean, this is a big house. It's not a hut. It doesn't have a straw roof. It has windows down here and windows up here. So it's got 2 stories in this house. 2 double door entryway. This family is very well off. And what do you have in a family? You have a father, right? And a mother. And then they have children. This family, they had 2 sons. They had 2 sons. So the father is there. He's very well off. And they're rich enough. They have servants. All the servants, he is so kind that all the servants are happy. They have plenty of food. They're cared for very well. None of the servants think, I wish I could go work for somebody else. Because this man who owns this house is kind and generous. He's like the best dad ever. Now I think some of us think we have the best dad ever. But nobody was a better dad than this dad right here. The best dad ever in this house. And here we go. There's our little house. The little one. There's the big one, there's the little one. The best dad ever. He was just kind and did everything that was right for his sons. But one of his sons was bad. Mostly bad in his head. Mostly bad in his head. He thought, look at all this stuff. I wish I didn't have to be here where my dad is seeing everything that I do. I wish that I could just do the things I want to do. Dad has taught me to do certain things, but I've seen other people and they have fun. They go to parties and things like that, and I wish I could go to the parties that I want to go to. I wish I could. He thought, you know what? When my dad dies, then I'll be able to do whatever I want, and I'll get a whole bunch of money because look how rich our family is. So he started thinking about that. He thought, well, if my dad died in paradise, that's with his blood. When my dad dies, then I'll be able to do whatever I want to do. But what do you think he started thinking next? I don't want to wait till my dad dies to do whatever I want to do. I wish that he wasn't alive. Then I could just have all this stuff and do whatever I wanted to do. Isn't that a bad thought? Basically, he said he would never think of killing his dad. No way, not that way. But he was like, I wish my dad wasn't around anymore. Then I could do whatever I wanted to do. And that's rebellion. When you say, I don't want to do what other people tell me to do, I want to do what I want to do, that's where this boy was. He was at the rebellious stage. And so, he went to his dad. He went to his dad. The boldness. He went to his dad and said, Dad, he didn't say, Dad, I wish you were dead. But he said, Dad, give me what will be mine when you die. It's pretty. And the father was such a generous man. It must have broke his heart to do that. But he did. His son came to him and said, give me what is mine, what will be mine when you die. And the father distributed, split up what he had and between both of his sons. And the young son, he got some money from his dad, he got some land, and then as soon as he got it, pretty much as soon as he got everything from his dad, he went out and he sold it. The money that he had, he kept. But then he went around and he said, I got this land, it's mine, I can do with it what I want, and I want to sell it. And so people in the community, they knew how this son was treating his father. Look at me. They knew how this son was treating his father. He was a bad boy. So he sold all that, and once he sold the land and all the stuff that he got from his dad and his money, he probably had quite a lot of money. And he went with his money a long way away, a far distance away. He went to a place where he felt like he could do whatever he wanted. He'd be so far away that nobody would know him, and he wouldn't have to worry about whether people would see what he was doing and talk to his dad about it or anything like that. He lived in a far country, and you know what? He had lots of money. And so you think he had fun? He would use his money to buy whatever food he wanted. He would buy it. Whatever he wanted to drink, he would drink it. He would throw parties for people and they would laugh. And maybe he would pay somebody to play music for him. He just had the best time that he could think of with all of the money that he had. And he was there living a life that would make his dad very sad. But he was having fun. He was having fun there in the far country. And but what happens if you have a bag of money and you start spending it? What happens to your bag of money? Sky? It goes down. And once you use the last gold coin, is there another gold coin there? No, there's not. And so this boy, he was spending his money. He had lots of people who were his friends. They loved the money and the fun that they could have with him. But pretty soon, the money ran out, right? And I imagine when the money ran out, he thought, well, I'll just go to my friends and say, hey, friend, remember how we had such a good time? I need some help. But what do you think? Did that friend help him? As soon as he didn't have money, he was not a friend anymore. So this son, this boy, and you probably can't see from back there, but you see this boy here? He's down on his knees and he's begging for help. He's begging for help. He thought, well, it's not the end of the world. I don't have any money, but I can work some. I can go find a job and I'll work. So he did. He went and found a job, and he found the only job he could find was the worst job possible. Now, I don't know what you think the worst job possible is, but for him, the worst job possible was to be someone who watches the pigs. Now, pigs really stink bad. They stink very bad. And we don't have this in our culture, but in his culture, he was not allowed to be, he grew up never being allowed to eat ham or bacon or beef. So they never had pigs around. Pigs were an unclean animal. He was not supposed to touch pigs or be around pigs at all, but he was away from home, and the only job he could find was taking care of pigs. And what do you think he had to do? He had to take care of the pigs. And like I say, to us, you substitute in there for yourself whatever you think is the worst job possible. That was a shameful job. But it was a job. The owner of the pigs would give him some money, just a little bit, and he could get by a little bit. But you know what happened? Soon after that, the rains stopped coming down in the land where he was. And when it doesn't rain, things don't grow, do they? And when crops don't grow, and there's very little water, food gets more and more expensive because it's a famine. That's the word for it. There's a famine, and only the people with the most money can buy food. Now, do you think this boy who's watching pigs is getting enough money from the farmer to buy food? He's not. So he begins to suffer there. There's a big famine, and he's suffering there. Life is bad for him. He ran away from his father hoping he could do whatever he wanted, and he did it for just a little bit. Drowned out all the things that he knew was right with his fun and games and money, but now it's bad. He's doing the worst job possible. There's a famine, and he's not even earning enough money to even eat. In fact, it's got to be... Have you ever been on a farm? How many of you have ever been on a farm? Okay? How many of you have a pet? Okay? So, it got to be so bad that the boy was looking at the food that the pigs were eating, and he thought, I wish I could eat some of the food that the pigs were eating. You have to be hungry to do that, right? He was in a very bad shape. He was in bad shape. He was suffering there. He had a bad job working with gross things that the way he was raised was awful. Not making enough money to buy food. He was so hungry that he thought, I wish I could eat what they have. But do you think the farmer would want him to eat the food that he had for the pigs? Those were the farmer's pigs. He didn't want people eating the food that he had to pay a lot for that money just to feed his pigs because there was a famine. So he couldn't even eat the food that the pigs were eating, but he wanted to. He started sitting there. Here he is, there, watching the pigs, wishing that he could eat with them, and started thinking. He started thinking about home. At first, right, he didn't want to be around home. He didn't want to be around his father. He thought, I wish I could just have everything that I will get when he dies. But here, in all this trouble, he started thinking, he said, you know, home's not that bad of a place. Even the servants, even the people who are not part of Dad's family, they get paid well. And Dad takes care of them well. So well that they're happy. They like working for Dad. I wonder if Dad would let me come back. We would probably think, after what he did to his dad, a lot of dads in the world today would say, you make your choice. You stay away. But he thought, I have nothing else that I can do. The only thing I can do is see if I can get back to Dad and just beg him to forgive me and let me do what all the other slaves do. Just let me work like all the other servants. I would just obey him. I would do what they do. At least I could be happy like them and have some food. So he's thinking there and he thinks, I need to go back home. Now, how many of you think that was a good thought? That was a good thought. He's in bad shape, but he's got nothing else to do but go home. And can he go back home and say, all right, I'm back. I had a good time, and now... No, he was thinking right. He says, I need to tell Dad that I sinned against him, and I sinned against God, and would he please forgive me and let me just work. So, the boy starts heading home. And does he have a long walk to go? He does, because he went into a far country. He went a long way away. And every step back, the nice clothes that he had when he left, he doesn't have nice clothes. Where was he wearing his clothes last? In a pigsty, right? With the pigs. So he's going home. He probably looks very different than he did when he left. And he's probably thinking, I hope Dad will have me back. I know I don't deserve it. I have shamed him. I've sinned against him. But I don't have any other thing that I can do. I hope he takes me back. I don't know if he will. I hope he takes me back. And before he got very close, he got into his home area. Before he got to home, there he saw an older man walking. No, he's running very fast, and he's running right toward me. And you know who that was? That was his dad. His dad, who he shamed, ran to him and gave him a big hug. And the boy said, Father, I have sinned. I've sinned against God, against heaven, and against you. And before he could even say, just let me be one of your servants, his father said, this is a great day. I'm so glad you're back. Let's have a feast. Let's have a big banquet. And let's have all our friends over, and we will sing, and we will be joyful. The son, the father, welcomed him back with open arms, and then closed arms around his son, right? The father, who was hurt really bad, still loved his son. Now, Jesus told this story for several reasons, but one reason is for us to think about where we are. Where are you? Every single person in the world at some point or another is somewhere along this path. Are we like the son who wishes we could get away from home? Now, we don't wish we could get away from our home, but we sit there and in our thoughts we think, I really want to just do what I want to do. I don't so much, sometimes we even just do what we want to do. Our parents might tell us to do something, and instead we do what we want to do. That's called disobedience, but it's also rebellion. We might think, I hear things at church or at Bible club, and I see that they live a certain way, and it seems nice, but that's not for me. I don't really want God to be a big part of my life. I want to be in control. And so we might be at somebody that wants to be away from God, like that son that wanted to get away from his father. Somebody else might be, I have so much fun just doing whatever I want to do. They've already decided they're not going to obey God with their life, and they drink and they party and they do whatever seems good to them. That's what they do. Even there, they might hear somebody preaching, or it might get quiet. They might be going to bed at night and they think, well, what about God? And what do? Right away, they might turn on some music so they don't have to think about God, or they start playing a video game so they can think about that instead of thinking about God. They're away from God, and it bothers them, but they are going to have fun there as long as they can. But what happens? Does the world have anything really good to offer? It doesn't. It doesn't satisfy. And just like that boy ended up running out of money and being helpless, you might be there. Now, each of you are thinking, well, I've never run away from home, or I don't watch pigs or anything like that. But every single person who comes to God must get to a place where they say, what I'm doing is not right. Just like that young man thought, this isn't the right way. I need to ask my Father to forgive me. And every single one of us needs to think about our life at some point and say, my way is not the right way. I'm going to turn from my way and ask God to forgive me. And so are you there? Let down by what's going on in the world and realizing that you need to turn to God? You might be there. You may have already been there. If you have turned from your sin, if you have turned from your way and said, God, I want to obey you. Please forgive all my sins that I've committed. Jesus died on the cross so that you can do that. And I want to have your forgiveness for my sins. And I want to obey you. I want to be a part of your family. Will God say no? He won't. Just like Jesus told the story about the Father. God is looking for us. Just like the Father was watching and he ran to the Son. God is looking for us. And one of the ways he's looking for you is by letting you come to Bible Club. He's reaching out to you through the things that we learn at Bible Club. And if you haven't turned to God from your sin, he's reaching out to you. And you need to turn from your sin. And as soon as you do, he will be there with what, of course, God doesn't have arms, but with open arms and say, yes. You turn from your sin and say, God, please forgive my sins. And let me be your child. I want to live for you. God will forgive you. And so you might be somebody whose sins are forgiven. And you're living a grateful, happy life as one of his sons doing his work, or his daughters, one of his daughters, listening for what he says. How does he tell you things to do today? Through the Bible, through Bible teachers, through godly parents, through preachers. And we listen for that and we say, oh yes, I want to do that. And we want to do that because God has loved us so much that he let us into his family. Because we've turned from our sins and believed on Jesus, who died to forgive us of our sins. So where are you? Are you wanting to be away from God? Are you enjoying your sin? Are you not enjoying what the world has for you? Have you realized that you need to turn to God? If you have, it doesn't take anything. It's not hard. You just have to do it. You have to turn to God. Have you turned to God, and are you experiencing his faithful love and joy? That's the question. Every one of you is somewhere along that path. And I hope some of you are young. You might think you're there, and then in 6 months you might think, well, I'm here. But if we listen and obey God and believe on him, we can enjoy and be thankful for all the good things that God has.